Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of the Cheap Seats. This is your English Premiership show that discusses all the things that have happened in the past week, like how Wolves got manhandled by Brentford and Ivan Toney, as well as we won't talk about how Spurs got a little bit of a shock and a lesson in football by Chelsea. Makes me feel a little bit better because I thought we were the only ones who were going to get a little bit of a drama-filled situation. And we're also going to discuss Ronaldo's penalties or lack thereof. Is it reputation or is it VAR? I don't know, but we'll figure that out. But we've got Abe, we've got Dean today. Before we do anything else, please do like and subscribe to our channel. We also got some rugby coming up this weekend, so please do that, and you'll be notified if you click the notification bell. Now, so today I wanted to talk about a team that has bothered many a defender. I feel for Pablo Mari because after what Romelu Lukaku did to him, he probably wanted to have a support group, but that support group is growing. I.e., add in some of the Spurs defenders in there. But yeah. Chelsea have been one of the best teams in the land since January. They fired Frank in January. Tuchel comes in. They win a Champions League. And now in this season, they look like the preeminent favorites. They are playing City this weekend, so we will find out what is going, where they stand. But I do think City are in for a big surprise. But the question for today, guys, is what are Chelsea doing right? And what is everyone else doing wrong? Because if Tuchel can fix this in 9 months, what's everybody else doing?
I've been recently exposed to what Chelsea can do to a team, and it's scary what they can actually do because Spurs threw everything they could and the fridge and the kitchen sink on that first half. I haven't seen Spurs play that well since Poch, pretty much, and zero. You have nothing to show for it. You walk away off the pitch 3-0. And that's the part that scares me about Chelsea the most is they've had probably the toughest early fixtures. They've had Arsenal, they've had Liverpool, they've had Spurs, they've got City now this weekend. Arsenal's tough again, but but I think the thing that stood out for me the most is they can handle anything that anyone throws at them, and they can handle it better than anyone. And I think that's the scary part, that even if you play your absolute best, Chelsea can absorb it, handle it for 45, 50, 60 minutes, and then it's almost like they just absorb it and then they just use that same energy and just beat you to a pulp with it. And I think that's the scary part. It's scary that, like you say, Tuchel's walked in, a year, or is it 9 months? It's 9 months, eh?
It's 9 months ago,
that he's been 9 months that he's there. And it shows I don't mean any disrespect to him, but it shows just how bad Frank Lampard was at coaching these guys. Because without all that they've gone and got, additionally from Frank's team was Lukaku, which 100% it's a massive addition, but that team is made in the midfield. The fact that he still had Kante, he had Jorginho, he had Kovacic, and he wasn't able to manhandle the way that Dejan are doing it now shows the different level that Tuchel's operating at. And this is where Chelsea are. Any of those, you've got Kovacic, you've got Kante, and you've got Jorginho. And then they've gone and bought Saul now in the summer break. Any of those four players walking to any team anywhere in the world. And Chelsea's they're going to have some of them on their bench. Like, it's a joke what these guys are doing. So Chelsea, for me, after what I saw this weekend, they're winning the league. I don't think there's even a doubt about it. They're winning the league. Stop the count. Done.
So the interesting thing about that game against Spurs on Sunday was in that first half, he got his tactics wrong. Tuchel got his tactics wrong. He had a two-man midfield. He was being outrun by that Spurs 3. And halftime, he didn't worry. He just puts on Kante, drops Mason Mount inside, and they play a 3-5-2, the midfield 3-4-3 to 3-5-2, and it fixes the situation. The Lukaku threat, on the other hand, is just always going to be there.
Yeah.
and everyone else is going to score goals off of him. But AB, the thing for me with this thing is this team is, how did they get it so right so quickly? Like, you've been in a rebuild since Sir Alex Ferguson has come. Arsenal does not know what they're doing. City somehow, and for me, that's the one thing that irritates me about Manchester City. They have a squad to rival Chelsea's, but whenever they play Champions League football on a Sunday, it's like we lose. And they did, well, they didn't lose. They drew to Southampton without the fans, but maybe that's why they needed fans. But it's just, what are the other teams doing? Like, what's Chelsea doing right? Is it just off-field business that's, that anybody can just walk into the, okay, we figured out with Frank that nobody can walk into a squad like this and win with it. But is it just all Tuchel, or is it some back office things, or is it just the fact that everyone else just doesn't know how to play football in the Premier League?
But to be fair, barring Lukaku, this is Frank's team, it's a squad. It really does goes to show how out of his depth Frank was. And management isn't for everyone, and I don't really need to go more about that. But Tuchel's always done well with this back three, and he put it in as soon as he came in. They've been very tidy. I mean, since last season when Tuchel came in, I think he signed Mendy as well. But this weekend he played Kepa against Spurs. And when you think about Son and Kane versus Kepa, you're expecting goals. And Kepa was like, I don't know, he looked like Oliver Kahn the other day, just because he was so calm, he was so relaxed. He has three of the best defenders in front of him in the Premier League. It's Tuchel backed his system. It worked. He achieved success immediately, which is such a critical aspect for a new manager, a young manager in a different league, to get buy-in from players. Suddenly, guys like Jorginho are now seen as like arguably the men's player of the year. Well, he is the men's player of the year.
He is,
for doing absolutely nothing.
Guys, Jorginho can't win the Ballon d'Or. No.
Exactly. He probably will.
No.
And suddenly you're thinking, what is going on with football? But Tuchel's done it. He's calmed. I've always said that, like, real title-winning teams are characterized by their solid defense. And if you look at Rudiger, Christensen, and Silva, if they stay fit, those three centre-backs stay fit, and Chelsea play with this back three, two wing-backs, like a three-man midfield, and Lukaku and whoever up front, no one's going to stop them. But if you look beyond those three centre-backs, there are potential problems. If Thiago Silva's age catches up to him, or he gets a horrible injury, touch wood, it could be different. But right now, I feel like the entire league is trying to catch up to them. Liverpool are great up there. Their first 11 is brilliant. But Liverpool have no depth. Liverpool don't have a Werner, Chilwell, N'Golo Kante. Oh my word! How do you bench N'Golo Kante, the world's best number 6 in this team? Yeah, you see, this is. Oh yeah, there we go. But that's the scary depth problem that Chelsea has.
And they can bring Kante on, and then they just dominate like they want to anyway.
Chelsea have always had a good squad, but Tuchel has made them into a fantastic team.
So here's the thing I'd like to point out. We always complain about Chelsea spending all the money in the world for every single player. Kepa, they've spent money on Chilwell, they spend money on all these other guys, and they don't care. It's getting them there all the time. Like, if I look at a guy like Ben Chilwell, they spent, I don't know how much money did they pay for him. It was 70, was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's up to 50, yeah.
And Ben Chilwell is being outgained by Alonso. They spent all the money in the world for Kepa. Kepa only comes in if Mendy's ill, because Mendy's the better guy. It speaks to me of an organization that's very willing to make the quick decision and move and pivot whenever they need to. That's why Chelsea have always fired managers whenever I think they've got the most managers out of the top 6 over the past, decade, because they're always just willing to pivot. They're ready to pivot even on players, and they don't mind just selling them at like, if you look at the players that they've let go in the summer, they've let go of Tomori, they've let go of Zuma. They literally cleared the decks. Why aren't other Premier League clubs around there, in that big six, whatever, not willing to adopt this strategy of being able to pivot? Because the whole Frank Lampard thing, he's a club legend, but they fired him. You know, but if you look at other teams out here, they're all just sitting, running around, not knowing who's who, you know, and they're not willing to make, even on players, and that for me is the one thing that that Chelsea have is I just, there's a flexibility there, but why aren't other teams this flexible? If being near because the whole point of this is to be as close as possible to the title, surely. You know, Dean, like, if that's the case, why isn't everyone trying to adopt the same model?
I think, and this is okay. I can't count Spurs because Spurs will never splash the cash like Chelsea do. But it's almost a case of they don't want to admit that Chelsea are the ones that are doing it right, so they're just trying to disprove the formula that they've come up with as the correct formula. Like, obviously, each team's on their own mission. Like, Chelsea's doing, like, I mean, they've got basically the whole of Russia's money behind them, so obviously they can go out and do what they want. But having said that, City's got the whole of, what is it, Qatar, wherever they guys are from. You know, United's listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They've also got enough cash. So, like, it's not like these guys don't have cash. Maybe it's not like your club doesn't have cash, okay? But I think the bigger difference in this situation is Roman Abramovich is very much a case of whatever that manager wants, that manager gets. And I think that's what it boils down to. And I think that's what some of the clubs, I think City and Chelsea for me are probably the closest run in that respect of they get what they want, they go out and get, and more often than not, it's what then turns into their team the next season. The rest of the clubs touch and go. Like Liverpool tried. I think they got lucky with the Salah deal, to be honest, because no one expected Salah to do the things that Salah did. But Liverpool's close. But I think from a Chelsea perspective, I mean, before the start of last season, they went and splashed like almost 270 odd million on the players, and then Frank did what he did, and it was an issue. But then Abramovich says, "Okay, cool. I'm going to bring in a top class coach." Who, the part that amazes me is that he still gets people to believe in this project. Like, he still, you know, like you look at Conte, who was out of a job. The whole reason he didn't want to come to an Arsenal or Spurs is because he didn't believe in the project. The fact that Abramovich can still convince the people that are in the project is because he knows he has the cash to splash on these guys. And that's why, same reason why Pep went to City. He knows that he's got an unlimited transfer budget. So, like, from a coach perspective, I think that's what you want, and that's what you can then go and get what you want, do what you want, and, you know, kind of world's your oyster. But I think the club closest to Chelsea at the moment is probably City. And I think the whole reason why City aren't doing what City need is because they didn't address their problems in the summer as good as what Chelsea did. And I think that's why we're seeing this now disconnect of Chelsea knew what they needed. They went and got it. City knew what they needed, couldn't deal with Daniel Levy. And that's why Chelsea are going to win the league. And no one's going to copy them because they can't. And no one's going to beat them because they also don't. So simple, quick math.
Maybe interestingly enough, what do you think of this Chelsea team from a Manchester United perspective? When you play them, do you think you can handle them? You spent a lot of money in the summer. You got back one of arguably the top 5 players in the world leading the line for you guys. Can you stop this train? Do you believe you can stop this train?
I think every team who plays Chelsea has about a 5% chance of beating them. And that's if their system fails on the day for a bad day. I think it's really difficult for a team, especially like United, who are very reliant on key players performing on the day and producing moments of magic, to beat a system that is ingrained in this team in less than a year. They're only going to get stronger if their squad is fit and if players are happy and Tuchel doesn't fall out with anyone and drama aside. But if I was, I'm glad United aren't playing Chelsea this weekend because you look at the way they played Spurs, and it reminded me of like the 2007 Springbok team. They are just impenetrable. It may not be like watching Barcelona in 2009, 2010, but they refuse to be beaten. They will not let you score against them. They don't want you to have the ball. They will work harder than you. It's horrible football to play against, and no one wants to play against them. And I don't want to play against them. I don't want to see Ronaldo go up against Rudiger, who can match him physically, or Christian, who can match him aerially, or Thiago Silva, who can match him with experience. It's a very well-oiled machine, this Chelsea team. And I don't want to see N'Golo Kante come on to play against the tiring Fred. I don't want to. No one wants to see that. Guys,
I'll tell you what. There's one way to beat Chelsea, and that's to put two of your worst players on the pitch and tell them to just break ankles. Just go break ankles, get red cards, and then maybe you can have holes in that Chelsea team. Because other than that, no one's beating them.
Yeah, I saw them in preseason. I realized the Chelsea team is going to be a problem. But this weekend they play City, Dean. Early kickoff on a Saturday, which is wild. But anyway, what do you think City can do? Because obviously last week City laid an egg against Southampton. After Champions League, it's not a Champions League weekend now. But can City, because it's defending champions against the guy who looks like he wants to take it. What do you think the outcome will be from that game?
I think this is obviously a repeat of the Champions League final, right? So Chelsea know how to beat City. They know, and they know they can absorb.
I'm assuming Gundogan or who's the other? Fernandinho will be playing this time.
Well, you would hope that Pep learns his lesson, but at the same time, Chelsea now have a world-class striker up front that will damage City, where City doesn't have that. So I think the Chelsea win because their midfield works harder than any other midfield in the Premier League, and they will run every midfielder in the Premier League rampant. So if Pep can try and find a way to nullify that, which I think he would have to match them system for system. So if Chelsea go and play that 4-3-3 or the 3-5-2, Pep has to match man for man and try and not get too close to them. Like Dyer tried it against Lukaku over the weekend, to not get too close to the guy. And Lukaku he had a good game, but he didn't score at least. And I think that's what City need to try and do with Kovacic, Kante, Jorginho, if he plays all three. Try and have like Rodri, Fernandinho, get fairly close, try and match them at the same time, have that ability to turn and run with them. Other than if they don't do that, it's again going to be a Chelsea absorb, and then just absolutely kill them when they need to. So City's tough. I mean, they drew 0-0 against Southampton, and I know I can't remember the result before that, but it wasn't great either. They are struggling in the Premier League, and they need to try and put that right. And I don't see it happening against Chelsea. I see Chelsea winning this probably 2, maybe even 3. Because, look, I wish I could put this in better words, but I hate Chelsea, but I'm so impressed by the football they're playing that, like, I back them against anyone at the moment.
AB, what do you think is going to happen this weekend?
Yeah, look, I mean, how do City score goals? Because that was the problem in Southampton. It was they didn't shoot well. I think they had one shot on target. They had all the ball. They just couldn't find they didn't have an Aguero to finish it. They didn't have a Harry Kane. They didn't have a Lukaku. So Pep needs to do something.
Torres.
But he's not a striker.
He didn't even play on the weekend.
Yeah,
that was a wild
play.
thing. I was like, dude, what's going on?
It's like
you play this number 9 football.
Again, you want Ferran Torres to go against Rudiger, Christensen, and Thiago Silva, possibly the best form of their career. No, it's not going to work. And then Kante or Kovacic or Jorginho is going to stop any transition from happening. So look, I think City need to play for a draw here. It is at the Bridge. So if I was Pep, I would be setting up for a draw. I would match them system for system and make sure that they try and work as hard as possible, try and score a goal on the counter attack. If like you think Jesus could get a mismatch against who's the slowest guy there, probably Silva and Christensen. That's what I would do. I'd literally go park the bus for 90 minutes, try and work as hard, if not harder, as Chelsea, and then just try and hold on for a draw and try and score a shitty goal on the counter attack. That's me. Don't try and attack Chelsea. It's not going to work.
That is so unlike Pep. So they're going to go at them. They have to. I'm like, you're defending champions. These guys are the up-and-coming upstarts, youngsters. Show them how this game is played. You can match them toe-to-toe if you want. But this is the thing about City. What City gets is that what City does to other teams is that because they don't play like a traditional number 9 and everybody can roam into. Defenders have no job. Like, they literally are sitting there. You're marking zonal areas, hoping that if the ball does come to you, the man coming towards you isn't fast enough. And if City can get the game going, I saw Kevin De Bruyne played in the Carabao Cup.
Last night,
if they can get the ball moving and control a lot of possession, Chelsea might find themselves in a little bit of trouble. This is the best defense Chelsea will come up against. I know they came up against Virgil van Dijk and Liverpool, but we know what the best defense in the league was, and it was City.
And Eric Dyer. I mean, that's world class defense. Coming up again. No.
Nah. Even with Mourinho, the defense wasn't great. So I think for me, that's what I'm excited by. To see Lukaku against Ruben Diaz. I want to see how they go up against. Yes, we know that's the other problem. The left-hand side of City is just hopeless. Okay, not hopeless. These guys are professional footballers. They know what they're doing, but that's their weakest spot. And if Chelsea can get, I know Reece James will be back from suspension. Do you put him in? I think you should. You've got Alonso also on the right, pinning them back. It's going to be a great game. But I do think Chelsea just have it. But it's honestly dependent on how the City team is, depending on form. Right now, they look really, really bad. They beat bad teams, but they just can't take out teams in the Premier League. So there is also some sort of like a physicality aspect to it. But we'll see. And that's what it is. But that's the end of our show, gents. We've got that Chelsea City game in the on the weekend. There is the North London derby that we're not going to talk about. Dean's going to lose and we don't want to make him cry.
We'll see.
But yeah, like it's one game I'm not looking forward to watch. I don't know about you, but yeah. That's the marquee game. And then after that, City have Liverpool. So it's just a very interesting run of games for the title contenders in and around Chelsea. Whereas after that, and we're going to talk about an FPL after this, and on tomorrow's episode, they're just going to go downhill after this because they've already gone through, I think, 4 of the big 6. And with Manchester United waiting in the wings. Actually, no, they'll have gone through 5 because it's City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool. So they'll have one more left, and then it's just free for all until Christmas. So yeah, well, Chelsea looking very good. But anyway, Thank you very much for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe, and also watch out for our FPL show, which we will be recording for tomorrow. And yeah, we've got some interesting things. Guys are saving up money. It's wild out here. Very, very wild in FPL. Thank you very much. Good night. Goodbye. Asante.